Welcome to the Parent Advocacy resource team for all ages and stages of parenthood. I'm Irene Gouge, founder of Loving Lessons, sleep consulting and postpartum doula solutions, and your host here at PART, where we partner with parents to create a trusting network of professional services to provide families with proactive options as they navigate the journey of being a family through education, advocacy, empowerment, and connection. So I'm super excited to have our guest today. We have Sarah Whaley of Joyful Toddler Parenting, and she is a parent coach for parents of toddlers. She helps parents find more joy in the toddler stage by educating toddler behavior strategies and addressing the issues that affect parents. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you so much. So when we get started, we talk about things that we never thought we would say as a parent. And I love yours. Like I was like, oh my gosh. Sarah said, please don't stick your hands in your butthole. Tell me the backstory. Help me understand.
I mean, this is not an isolated case.
Right? Like sometimes you're like, why am I saying this yet again?
I wish it was. Yeah. This is my 2-year-old son, who's very different than my daughter. Just there's a lot of naked and a lot of butthole all the time.
Yes.
So it's just, yeah.
Who knew?
Right. Yeah. So this, I mean, I think the time that I had written down was when I was changing a poopy diaper and he's like trying to just, check it all out. And I'm like, dude, can you not touch your butthole right now?
Right? Like who does that? So for any of the parents who are watching this, like if you would drop a comment down below, like raise your hand or say, yes, we talk about naked or buttholes all the time in our house. Post that down below so we can see that we are not alone.
It's a big topic of discussion in our house.
It is. Like I would definitely say like that is a hot topic here in our house. I'm a mama, 2 boys. And like I thought like maybe this too shall pass, right? Like that has been a mantra of mine and I know. And so yeah.
Yeah.
So Sarah, tell me a little bit about how you got into Joyful Toddler Parenting.
Yeah.
I love that you say joyful because not everybody associates joyful and toddlers together.
I know. And that is my goal, is that more people will associate those 2 words and that feeling. So there were a few things that got me into it. I have always loved the toddler stage. It's always been my absolute favorite, starting when I was really little, and babysitting. And then as I worked as a developmental therapist. So I worked with 0 to 3. And then I worked as a board certified behavior analyst. And I just loved the little ones. I loved teaching them. I loved all the funny things they say. I loved setting that foundation for them.
Yeah.
And now I have my own 2 toddlers that are 2.5 and almost 4. And I still love the toddler stage. I still think it is just the greatest, most fun, joyful, magical stage. And it's also very challenging and frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help take a lot of that frustration and challenge out of it for other parents of toddlers. And before I did this, I worked as a board certified behavior analyst, and I was working with families, but I was working with insurance, and I was able to implement these strategies with my client only. And what I found was I could go in and implement strategies that worked, but parents had so much trouble implementing them. And who cares if a professional can come and do it if it's not lasting, when the professional is gone.
Right.
And what I found was that there were so many other issues other than just being educated on these strategies. Things like mom guilt, burnout, lack of self-care, parents not knowing their values, and so not knowing how they want to parent, parents not being on the same page because, again, they don't know how they want to parent, resentment between partners, so many other issues that are going in and affecting how you implement, and then how you just show up as a parent that then affects toddler behavior.
Yeah.
So my whole goal now is to have a really holistic approach that, addresses all of the issues, not just this little portion of toddler behavior strategies.
Yeah. I think what you share is so important because it's not just like, it was interesting because you said your clients who are the toddlers, right? Like, so we can help them with that strategy, but it's really like, what do we do as a whole family unit? Because again, I think everybody gets triggered in different ways. Toddlers love to push buttons.
Yeah.
And so it's like figuring out, how am I communicating effectively with this little being who has so much to say and is so passionate.
Yes.
About life.
Yeah.
Really awesome. I love that you embrace this toddler stage. Like for me, that's one of my favorite stages when I was teaching. Those are my people. I think that a lot of times they're misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that to be true?
Absolutely. And I think, I talk about people having hopeful expectations, like expectations of like, my toddler's not going to hit or tantrum, or they're always going to use their words, and they get really stuck in these expectations. So my whole thing is like, tantrums are not going away. They're developmentally appropriate, but if we can change our behavior, we can decrease tantrums, but also we can then be mentally okay when all the big feelings happen with our toddlers, so that we can then co-regulate and help them to calm down versus like joining them up here with their big feelings and chaos.
Yeah. So Sarah, you use the word co-regulate. And so some of our families might not know what that means. Can you help us understand a little bit about co-regulation?
So I don't know the exact definition. I should know the exact definition, but to me, it's helping your child to regulate their emotions. And so it's what I always talk about is the seesaw analogy. So if your toddler is way up here with their emotions, you need to be way down here at the bottom of the seesaw and being really calm and modeling calm to kind of help bring them back down versus like joining them up here with their big feelings by yelling or, time out or spanking. It's something that's going to just increase all of those big feelings.
Yeah. I love that analogy with the seesaw, kind of bringing them down. And you kind of want to get balanced.
Yeah. It is like my go-to analogy when my kids are like up here with their emotions. I'm like, be the bottom of the seesaw.
Be like, I'm at the bottom. I'm right here staying focused. I'm nice and calm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really great. I think too, it's interesting that you say like that, one of the things I saw as I was looking at your Instagram posts and stuff, you really talk a lot about, not punishment, shifting your mindset around this. Is that kind of what you do? Like, do you do coaching programs? Do people work with you one-on-one? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I have a 12-week coaching program. 30% approximately is toddler behavior strategy. So how to increase listening, how to decrease tantrums, how to respond to bigger behaviors like hitting, biting, logical consequences, those kinds of things. And then 70% is working through all of those other issues that I talked about. So, what to do when you mess up as a parent, how to be proactive with changing your behavior, coping mechanisms, mom guilt, burnout, those kinds of things. So it's a 12-week program. And then I also offer workshops, approximately every other month, where I just talk about the toddler behavior strategies. But my coaching program is my main thing. And that's what I really want people to do, because that's what's going to make the big difference.
Yeah. Sarah, where were you when I had my little one? Because I would say that now I feel like I am moving into the preschool stage personally, but I didn't realize like all these big emotions that I had as a parent and how I needed to take care of myself. Cause I think a lot of times we just blame it on the child and we don't realize like, hey, I'm a part of this too. It's a partnership. It's a relationship that we're working through.
It really is. And I mean, I know, and this is something that I work on, is knowing your trigger. So like for me, my 3 biggest triggers are lack of sleep, not having time to myself, and fighting with my husband.
Yeah.
And when any of those have or have not happened, then I am so much quicker to be impatient with my kid. So I have to be super aware. So the other day I had a fight with my husband and I was like, okay, I know I'm going to be more impatient. So I have to be super aware of my own behavior, because that's going to completely affect my toddler's behavior. And the only time that my toddlers drive me crazy is when I'm having a bad day already.
Yeah.
It's completely related.
It is very much related. But it's hard to understand that, I think, as a parent. Like, I think that's part of why we want to share this kind of information with parents to kind of recognize, like, hey, I'm not alone in this. And there is issues in marriages, right? There is going to be marital strife. And so, like, can we become aware, and how do we have, like, do we have some tools to get back on track?
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's what you are equipping parents with when they do this program. And so it probably won't just help them right now in the toddler stage, is my best bet.
That is my whole goal, is that you put in the work now and you set this foundation. And that's the other part of why I work with families of toddlers, is because I want to catch you really early before you're having to kind of like go backwards, a lot. So yes, it's going to set in 12 weeks. We're going to set a foundation so that you are easier on yourself. My whole thing is like changing behavior through compassion and grace versus like shame and guilt, which moms do a lot of shaming and guilting of themselves.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. And it's just not effective. So I want moms to feel good. I want them to feel good about motherhood. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to feel good in their marriage. And then again, to enjoy this stage, and then hopefully way beyond this.
Yeah. Sarah, I do have to ask you a question. It's like weighing on my mind, and I'm just wondering if this comes up for you. Sometimes parents will tell me that, like, oh, but we don't fight in front of the kids. Like, they won't know. Do you think that toddlers know?
Well, I do. I think toddlers are really intuitive. And again, they may not know that you are fighting, but they're going to know by your behavior that something is going on, because I know, like, I get tense and then I am less consistent, I am less aware, and kids are going to get that.
Lots of good stuff to learn with all the different programs and workshops that you offer. Sarah, where would they be able to find you and your services?
Yes, my website is joyfultoddlerparenting.com. And there is a button to book a free initial consult to get more information.
Awesome. Yeah. So parents can connect with you, especially if they're in this toddler season. What do you say to parents who talk about the terrible twos? I don't know if you hear that a lot.
I do. Yeah. And I get it. I mean, two can be really hard. And that's why I call it the stage of ands, is it's fun and magical and really funny. And it's really frustrating and challenging. And if you don't know the strategies and you're not in a good place mentally, you're probably going to be more in this category than in this like joyful, magical stage. So I get it, but I want to take you from terrible to terrific, hopefully.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's a really great way to talk about it.
Yeah.
So before we hop off, Sarah, because I could probably talk to you all day about toddlers because they're so amazing and awesome. One of the things we like to share with our parents here is self-care tips, because I know in the midst of this, it's really crazy and hard. And you mentioned too, that sometimes if you haven't taken care of yourself, then you're maybe a little more of a short fuse. So what do you do? What's your best tip to share with our families?
So my number one thing is I sit down with my husband every single week and we prioritize my self-care. So it is scheduled into the week. So for me, it's either the gym, or at the minimum, I have time in the morning to drink coffee alone for 15, 20 minutes. And so we make that a priority every single day, every single week. And my husband works with me to make that happen. And it is not negotiable. It is prioritized over everything else.
Yeah, I love that because, again, toddlers are like, I remember when I was doing my home daycare, like they need you all the time. Like there's never a point where they don't need you. And so being able to be intentional like that is really awesome.
Yes. Well, and you're not going to forget to feed your kid or change, like their needs are always going to be prioritized. So that's why I prioritize my needs first, because it's so much easier to let that go versus like, you're not going to let toddler care go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're always the last to go. Yeah. We don't take care of ourselves and we don't take care of our needs.
Yes.
So just a little reminder to all the parents watching, take care of yourself because you do matter.
And it's not selfish.
And it is not selfish. Yeah, a lot. And it sounds like Sarah can give you some tips and tricks to help you work through some of that shame and guilt that you may carry if you are feeling that you can't take care of yourself.
Yes. Yep. Huge part of my program.
That's awesome. Well, now I know where to send parents if they need that next step. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to everyone tuning in and being here for the Parent Advocacy Resource Team, where we partner with parents to navigate the journey of being a family through education, advocacy, empowerment, and connection. Bye.